Notice of the meeting was given in the following manner. Notice of the meeting was transmitted to the Home News Tribune. Said notice of the meeting and a copy of the agenda were filed with the Office of City Clerk on September 22nd, 2017. And said notice of the meeting and a copy of the agenda were prominently posted on the announcement board in the lobby of City Hall, 78 Barrier Street, at least 48 hours prior to convening this meeting. Roll call first. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Here.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Here.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay, we have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have 3 minutes to approve. April 26th, regular meeting. Minute.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, May 24 regular meeting minute.
So move. I'll second.
Ready? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we have July 26th, 2 minutes. One is for the annual meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
And Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, July 26th regular meeting. Minute.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, new business will jump to resolution 32.
Sure. Acting as
Okay,
Acting as Redevelopment Authority, approving Fourth Amendment to redevelopment agreement with St. Peter's University Hospital, Inc. to extend demolition and construction deadline for a project consisting of an office building and off-street parking in the Easton Park redevelopment area.
Okay.
How are you? I'm sorry, Chair, you need an action, so we need a motion and a second. I'm sorry, Councilor. You need a motion and a second.
I'm sorry.
Make a motion. Second.
Thank you, sorry.
Sorry.
The Housing Authority, as the redevelopment agency, entered into a redevelopment agreement back in September of 2012 with St. Peter's to build an office building on the old vocational school site, which is right on the corner, right next to the hospital. Because of economic issues and other issues, they've come back on 3 different times to extend the time within which they want to demolish the building and start the construction. They're asking for a 4th time because they've been working with the developer, they're trying to finalize some plans and also work with the city. So we're suggesting that you agree to this amendment, which will take them till October of 2018. However, as I've indicated to St. Peter's, this is kind of like the last time, 4 times. Instead of say 3 times are out, this time it's 4 times are out. But so we're recommending, we've negotiated an amendment to the agreement. The amendment is relatively simple. All it says is that their obligation to demolish and start construction is extended until October 28, 2018. And Mr. Mulcahy is here, Vice President of St. Peter's, to answer any questions from the authority.
Why is the delay?
It's financial mostly, it's, funding capital at this point.
So do you have any sources now?
Well, we were working with a developer to try to come up with an agreement to develop the property. We were talking with the town about what we wanted to put up there to make sure everybody's in sync. I mean, I would love to say I was gonna do it tomorrow, but I'm not gonna be able to say that, so they're looking to get this extended so we can try to figure out what's happening. Also, if you're not realize there was a major change in leadership there in the last 6 months, so a new board and a new leadership want to reassess everything else that we're doing before we go ahead and commit capital to anything.
Are they planning to change the plan or?
No, pretty much the same plan which was approved. I mean, we looked at some other options, but we've been test running it with the town and make sure everybody's on board before we just build something or present something that's not going to be approved.
No, it's just, I know you have a lot going on there, especially with the neighborhood too. You have to,
Yeah,
work
yeah.
with them.
Yeah, we realize we need to act on it.
actually. I live in the area and I walk my dog all the time and I see a lot of broken windows. Just to see
Broken windows or?
Yeah, there's a couple of broken windows. So I see a lot of that. I mean, the grass has been taken care
Yeah,
of.
we
I see
maintain
that.
the property,
We
we're still
maintain, yeah.
in there every day, I mean, I'll look at that. Where are the windows, on the backside or?
The New York Avenue side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, we want to keep it up, and we've been keeping it up, it's maintained, we have a maintenance contract on it. I just park in front there every day myself, in the front lot.
But you intend to demolish it?
Absolutely.
Who owns the school now? The city or?
St. Peter's.
Oh, St. Peter's. They
We
own
own
It
it.
was the county vocational school that was sold
Okay,
to a
yeah.
developer.
Yeah,
There was Wick, if you remember.
yeah.
He had a residential project, and that didn't work out, so he sold it to St.
Yeah,
Peter's.
so we're sitting on it for
Yeah,
multiple years.
Since 2012, St. Peter's has owned it.
Yeah, we know we would have to do something, we would have at least demolish.
Any other questions?
Chair, just as a point of order, that was
Yeah.
Commissioner Giorgiani moved and Commissioner Jones seconded, is that?
Yes.
Is that what I heard? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right,
Yeah.
ready?
Mr. Caldwell, do you have any question?
No, I don't have any questions. I know the project, thanks.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
We thank you very
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you for your time.
Shall I continue, Chair?
Yeah.
Resolution 29, thanks, Sean. Thank you, thanks, Bucky. Resolution 29 is a resolution authorizing and approving payment of bills for the month of July and August 2017.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution number 30 is a resolution to renew membership in the New Jersey Public Housing Authority Joint Insurance Fund.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
So as you know, every year, we participate, and currently participate in the New Jersey Joint Public Housing Insurance Fund. It's a renewal membership. The state actually has a waiver because it's a self-insured fund. We are very happy, obviously, with the services we get from them, and we want to continue that both with this resolution and in the next resolution, which is part of the indemnification project that they require we do annually as a member, but we have to actually approve the membership first. So this is a one-year renewal. Okay?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, resolution 31.
And Resolution 31 is a resolution approving the indemnity and trust agreement for the New Jersey Public Housing Authority Joint Insurance Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Again, this is part of the actual annual membership. It's an indemnity and trust agreement, which I included a copy of, and it's a requirement as a fund member. Ready? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
That's all I had for new business.
Okay. On the old business, we're going to election for chairman as well as the second vice chairman. I'll give it back to you.
We're going to open the floor for nominations for the position of chairperson. Are there any nominations at this time?
I believe we had nominated Dale Caldwell as chair.
Correct.
You make that in the form of a motion?
Motion.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Mr. Caldwell?
Well, yeah, yes, I heard that.
Thank you.
Having no other nomination? having-
Second.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Chair. Oh, Commissioner. Okay.
Having heard no other nominations for the position of chair, we'll now close the period of nomination. And we can, subject to a roll call vote for Mr. Caldwell.
For Mr. Caldwell, Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Ovando,
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell,
Yes.
Commissioner
No,
Walden.
no. Commissioner Warren, yes.
I'm sorry.
I'll abstain, I won't vote for myself.
Okay, you're abstaining?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, motion passes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Second vice chair.
Yeah,
That's what happens when you miss a meeting, huh?
last time we had selected Georgiani as vice chairperson. Now we have to do a second vice chairperson.
Okay, so we will open the floor for nominations for the position of second vice chairperson.
I nominate, motion to nominate Yurgo Waldy, second.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
No, I want to pass that. I'd like to have,
Well, you have
Yeah,
to, once that nomination goes through, then you can nominate somebody else and then we'll vote on
Right.
it. Yeah. So right now you have a motion by Commissioner Jones and
A
you have a second by Commissioner Ovando.
Rondo. Are there any other nominations for the position of second vice chair?
yes, Mr. O'Barrow.
Is there a second nomination for Commissioner Rondo?
I'll second it.
Any further nominations? We'll now close the floor for nominations for second vice chairperson.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got voted off.
Okay. All right, then what we're gonna do is have to call for the vote.
Yep.
Right? All right,
This is exciting.
we're first going to have the vote for Commissioner Walde for the position of second vice chair. So if we call the roll call.
Again, this is going to be a yay, nay, or abstain. This is the vote for Commissioner Walde. Commissioner Jones?
Yay.
Commissioner Ovando?
Yay.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yay.
Was that a yay or a nay?
Nay.
Nay. Commissioner Walde?
Nay.
And Chairman?
I'll say nay.
Okay,
So three.
so you have three.
So it fails.
No, I'm sorry, you have two.
Two. Right.
So that failed.
That fails.
And now we will have, so this is Walde. Now we will have Commissioner Ovando. For the nomination for Commissioner Ovando, Commissioner Jones?
Yay.
Commissioner Ovando?
Abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yay.
Chairman, I'm sorry, not Chairman, I'm sorry, Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Chairman Caldwell.
Yes.
Okay, all right, you got four.
4 votes.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Congratulations.
I can now the chairman can take over.
I'll cede my seat to the vice chairman. For tonight.
Well, you could just move the gavel, if it's easier. Did you close nominations, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Nice, good.
You're in public comment.
Do you have any comments from the public?
Good evening, members of the board. Charles Cradaville, New Brunswick, New Brunswick Today. I wanted to, wish I had had the chance to make these comments before you adopted your agenda. As I brought up at the last meeting and at other meetings, that would be a best practice, because obviously the folks who were here are no longer here. Can't exactly ask questions of the people who might be in the best position to answer them. But nevertheless, I'll move forward. Yes. So last year, this board went into an executive session a couple times. Can you tell me, was the litigation that I brought against the authority discussed in the executive session?
Excuse me, Vice Chairman. The board is not in a position to disclose the substance or contents of closed session discussions as they, at the time, I believe, involved matters of pending and contemplated litigation. So we cannot divulge that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And now, my litigation against the housing authority, that has been resolved, correct?
It's not a question and answer period, Mr. Kravitz. It's an opportunity to provide public comment to the board for their consideration.
Well, then I'd like to state for the record that it is a fact that the case is over. It's been adjudicated, resolved, from what I heard from my counsel, and indeed there was a payment made to my counsel. Can you tell me, was that payment made by the housing authority or the gym?
Can someone add to that, John, or? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, the payment was made by the housing authority.
Okay. And does the housing authority typically, make payments to settle lawsuits or to resolve lawsuits without board approval? Because I don't recall ever seeing the board approve that closure.
John,
Payments are actually part of the board's bill list,
It would
and
be
they're
in the
approved
bill
by the
list.
board.
Okay, so it would be in the bill
It was-
list for
so it
a
was
couple
approved by the
meetings
board.
ago, maybe?
I don't know when it was, but it was approved. It would have taken a board action to approve a payment
Okay.
as part of the bill list.
Thank you, sir. And so the reason I ask about whether or not this was discussed in one of your closed sessions is because I did file a request to get your meeting minutes for many years and was denied the executive session minutes. So I'm pretty sure you discussed it in executive session, and it says here that the executive session minutes identified by your request cannot be provided as the matters addressed during the executive sessions have not yet been resolved, so as to allow disclosure of executive session minutes in public. Can you please ask your attorney whether the case that I brought against the authority it falls under that, or whether it's been resolved?
It's a subject of continuing protection, Mr. Carville, because you threaten to sue us at every meeting you come to.
Well, I think that's an exaggeration, but nevertheless, the litigation that I brought was resolved.
The record will speak for itself.
Okay.
The matter remains privileged.
I'll disagree with that, but I just want to clarify, and I do want to thank Mr. Clark for his September 20th letter. Almost all of the items I've requested have now been...
We have some more stuff for you.
Great, great. So I do want to thank you for working with me. I know sometimes I can be difficult, but at the end of the day, the authority has provided some of what I've asked for, and I just want to clarify that, request number one, you're going to continue to get me those meeting minutes, right? That's...
Sorry, Vice Chair. Yeah, we're going to continue to respond to some of the other open items. I think we're getting down to almost having responded to everything, I believe.
Okay.
If not, mostly everything.
Thank
So
Cool.
we'll continue to do that.
Thank you. And so the authority's not sued very often, right? I mean, I filed litigation over Oprah matters. About how many lawsuits does the authority get served with every year? Just ballpark.
We're not going to answer those questions.
Myself, I don't know if I can direct this to John or counsel.
I don't have that information.
Okay. I'm concerned because of, items 2 and 3, I requested some pretty basic stuff. I just asked for all civil or criminal complaints which name the authority or its officers and employees as defendants, and that's been denied. So has the request, a similar request for settlement agreements resolving those complaints, and it's, that's a request that I make of many entities, and they comply because those are public documents, and I just don't understand the logic for not providing those documents. Is it that your attorney doesn't believe they're public documents, or am I asking for too much? Is there so much litigation that it's a huge burden to provide the two documents, the complaint and the settlement agreement?
Vice Chairman, we've responded formally, the agency has, to Mr. Kravitill's requests, and the agency's responses have been put in writing to him. The answers speak for themselves.
Thank you.
It's a little confusing and out of step with what other government agencies provide when I make the same request. Nevertheless, thank you for responding to the ones that you did. Thank you for providing some information. I want to draw your attention to a resolution that you adopted back in 2012. I have copies for everybody here. If you just take one, pass it down. And I also have an email that I'd like you to see. This is one of the outstanding items. I'm not sure if you have it for me tonight, but request number 11, I asked for a copy of the check or other documents sufficient to show the $1.9 million transfer to Penrose Properties. That's included in this resolution that I hope you all got a copy. If it's been difficult to find that payment in your records, it might be because that's not the correct amount. And indeed, according to Mr. Noah Freiberg, who works for Penrose Properties, he was able to get back to me with some of these questions, and he believes that the $1.9 million figure in the, I guess the 8th and final paragraph is a typographical error. So the actual amount of this loan, according to the recipient of the loan, is actually a total of $1.19 million, and that's comprised of a grant of $915,246 and a loan of $274,754. And so I believe that because of this error, the board should correct the record and adopt a new resolution to reflect the correct amount. I'd like at least an update on this project that the authority has apparently poured $1.19 million into so far. This will be the Hoffman Pavilion project. Can I get an update, and will you please correct the incorrect resolution?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, actually, as I've stated, it's actually a two-phase project. That is one of the items that we are finalizing information on. I believe the resolution was meant to say up to $1.9 million, and the amount is below that amount, but that is one of the items that there needs to be an adjustment or any type of revision. We would go back and do that, but that's one of the responsive items that we're working on.
Okay, so.
And if there's necessary for a correction, we'd obviously make that type of correction.
Okay, and so what amount was given to Penrose? Is he correct when he says it was 1.1?
The amount, again, is one of the items in there. I don't have the documents. Those are part of the checks that we're actually going to provide to show that amount.
Okay, great, because it is something I've been asking
It's a little confusing,
for
right?
some time. It is confusing.
I believe the resolution meant to say up to 1.9 at the time because the finalized amounts were not available. So I don't believe it's a correction reducing the amount. I believe it's a correction of a grammatical correction of the resolution because 1.1 or 1.2 is below the 1.9 amount. So I believe that was why the resolution was the way it was. But we have, like I said, it's one of the items that we're responding to.
Okay,
Which will have more information.
when can I expect the response?
Before next week, sometime, once we get through all of the checks. It's a little bit older project, so.
Okay, well, yeah, so it's still not.
But it was a two-phase project, just so you know. The first phase was already built. That was 55 Harvey. That was the first phase, completed, done, occupied. The second phase is back on site, the Hoffman, which had to actually be demolished. So that was part of the actual transaction phase.
And what's the update? Did they get the?
We actually, Mr. Vice Chair, sorry, even though it's not question and answer, but I feel that it's good. We have learned that we were not successful in this year's bid. We did get some good feedback. I believe it is a great project. I believe it's something the city continues to need there, particularly on the affordable housing side. So we're going to look at the 4% program as a possible option. But we did not get the 9% program, which obviously gives you a little bit more revenue and financing toward the project. But the city does need affordable housing, does need public housing, and definitely continues to need senior housing as the senior population grows. So we're going to try to finance it another way. And we'll work with our development partner to do that.
Thanks. So the same plan will be submitted for a different type of funding from the same source, DCA?
Well, no,
It's
if we, I don't know if it'll be the same exact plan, because if the financing tool that we use provides less construction money, we couldn't build the building we want to build, so we may have to build a little smaller building, which we don't want to do, because we believe that the need is for that amount of units. So our hope is that we'll find another mechanism, or there may be, as part of an upcoming possible budget plan from the federal government, there may be some tax credit funds that come, so there may be another round of tax credits. But we were right there in the running, and as I said, I think it's an excellent project. I think it's the right project for that location, and I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to put something there shortly.
Okay. Thank you. I want to say, first of all, that I don't want to sue the housing authority again. I want to work with the housing authority on these requests and, stay the heck out of court and not run up legal bills from your side or my side. I want to work together with Mr. Clark, and I appreciate him dealing with me. I do need to follow up about a couple things. There was a retreat scheduled. Is there a date yet? Is it?
Okay, sorry. No, there's no date. I know that the former chair was going to work to try to coordinate a date. I will work with the new chair on a date, probably for some time. Again, since we're still operating under a continuing resolution till December 8th, the idea would be that we would have had a budget October 1st to work from.
It's hard to do long-term planning.
It's hard to do any planning at all. But I do believe that a retreat, it would be a good opportunity for us to discuss that and kind of do a best case scenario, worst case scenario deal, as well as do some updated board training.
Thank you. And is the Operations Committee done its report on the parking situation?
That, I don't know that.
Operations Committee meets in October, so I know that, I'm not sure what the new chair will do, but I do know that the previous chair had talked about an operations committee in October, so I don't know that'll be up to the new chair.
So before the next full board meeting,
Yeah,
there'll be
we'll
an
probably keep
operation.
that. I would imagine we'll keep that. And the retreat's very important, so.
There you go.
So we'll be working on it. Great question.
All right, and has anybody been able to find out how the property manager's son got the parking permit that I brought up at the last meeting?
I can't address this matter.
The council.
I'm sorry, why can't they be addressed?
Those are, I'm sorry, Vice Chairman. Okay.
Well, no, I'm sorry. So that was one of the matters that Mr. Cradaville had sent us, which we're going to respond to in our response back.
Oh, you'll
Yeah, we'll provide you some
formal
information.
response. Okay, is the property manager still employed by the housing authority?
I
Who
do not.
is,
Andrea White?
Andrea is still, yeah, she's still a property manager.
You want to, Charlie, could you wrap up a little bit?
Yeah, the last question, it's in response to something you said at the last meeting. You kind of compared our newspaper to tabloid newspapers and that kind of thing. And you said that you view that the authority's not dysfunctional. You said that it does a lot of good things, and I'd like to hear more about those good things. You mentioned scholarship funds and other things. Can you tell me, how many recipients of scholarships there were this year, and how much the authority's done for that?
I can get you information on that.
There you go.
For this year or in total, because we've done more than just
Right.
this year. We have an in perpetuity scholarship with Middlesex County that's given years of scholarships to individuals, affordable housing residents. But I can get you more information.
Okay, so you'll be able to give me the numbers
Sure.
on how many students are benefiting
Yep,
from this? And
absolutely.
Are there any other good things the authority does that you want to share with me?
We
We're
do good
housing
things
people.
every
Sure, if you
single
come to
day.
meetings, you'll see, you see what we do here, so.
We do great things every day. I think we have great residents. I think we have great employees that work in a very challenging, constricted budget time. And I think we house heroes here. We house veterans, we house seniors, we house the most needy people
And then if we
in this
don't-
community.
If we're
So-
not doing something good, all of us wouldn't have spent our evenings here, sitting here and,
Well,
going back and forth.
I would also say, I think we have great volunteers on our
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
And we have great volunteers who work with our community here in providing a food pantry and providing all these other services that help people in the community. So I'll list some of those in
I'd
response.
love to
you.
learn more about that so I can
Sure.
shine a light on the good things
Yep.
too. And thanks for the hospitality at National Night Out. I enjoyed it this year.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody, commissioners, anything? Good? Can we make a motion to adjourn, please?
Move.
Second?
Commissioner Walde moved and Commissioner Jones seconded. Ready? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ravondo?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Chairman Caldwell?
Yes, yes.
Vote, and the time is 7:16. Have a safe trip back.
Reception.